Hello, good rising, welcome back. Thank you guys so much for watching my black gymnastics journey. What a ride. I'm so grateful for everyone that watches and looks forward to this every week. We are now in 2005 and quick recap. Missed my novice years because the coach told me I was not good enough. I was not national level material. First year going into national junior, I come top 3 in the country. I have the nickname third. First year going national senior, I end up making top 10. Top 10 gets a try out for the Olympics. I was denied that opportunity. Now we're in 2005 and I am national senior again, and I've started traveling internationally, and I'm doing really great internationally and really accumulating a lot of points. By the end of 2005, I was top 6 in the nation, one of Canadians' top 6 athletes. So things are moving, things are grooving. I went to the Pan Am Championships, broke the finger, competed on a broken finger, came back, got everything going to get ready for my 2006 year. As for competitions, Yelena comes with me on the really important and big competitions. For an example, Pan Am Championships, that's a big named competition. She was definitely there for that. But any side, I guess, competition, she would not be there for me. I would either be traveling alone or going with the assistant coach, Valerie. This is just what was expected. She would just not be coming on these trips with me because the younger athletes needed more of her time, but it was really she liked the younger athletes 28 times more than me. So she was not planning to waste any time with me because I was just too big of a distraction. So I want to talk a little bit today about what training was like with Yelena and the type of relationship that her and I had. The majority of training, what I heard was, Brittany! Oh, boom! That's the door slamming. That's her going into her office and the door slamming. Come back out. She's crying and she's crying. You're so lazy. You're so slow. You're just so slow. And she's going crazy and she's crying and she's going crazy and she's just yelling at me like this, and she goes into the office and she cuts Brittany. She's just screaming at me, and I'm just mentally and emotionally getting lower and lower. And I don't think I'm moving slow. I really don't think I'm moving slow. I mean, yeah, I take time to process things, and I would prefer more of an explanation than Brittany, do. I'm the type of athlete that's like, okay, how do you want me to do it? Because if I do it this way, there's a possibility that I will fall and hurt myself. I was a very mental gymnast. I was terrified of everything. And working with a Russian coach who doesn't understand mental gymnastics at all, right away there's a huge clash. So I always wanted an explanation, but like how? But what do I do? And there was no, do, Brittany, do. And the crazy thing is, I was so beyond talented that, it would probably take me 6 hours to just do. But I was terrified to just do. And for her, she couldn't understand that balance because 6 hours later, I just did it. And it was pretty darn perfect. And it was why did we wait 6 hours when look at what that looked like? I was just naturally talented. So when she's yelling and she's screaming, and when I talk about crying, she's not crying for me out of love. She's crying out of me out of frustration and out of hate. She just doesn't know how to get to me. And I could understand that that's getting her more flustered. So she's getting more anxiety and she's crying and she's screaming more. But that is not a communication language that works with me. So imagine 5 years of someone not knowing how to communicate with me and expressing that through anger, rage, tears, screaming, crying, slamming the door in your face, and never watching you practice. It does something to you. So whenever she would say, you know, you're too slow, what are you doing? In my head, I'm not moving slow, but since I'm stubborn, you know, I'm a Scorpio. Since I'm stubborn, you know, if I was walking like this back to do my next vault and she goes, Brittany, you're going too slow. That slow? I'll show you what slow is. That's me. That's me walking back now. So I get it. I could understand how that would make her just go more over the top. But she was messing with me mentally, physically, spiritually, and I didn't know how to deal with that either. I didn't know how to communicate. Elena, the screaming, the yelling, the saying I'm lazy, the saying I'm slow, all these things doesn't amp me up to be like, yeah, I'm slow, let me try to be fast. It doesn't do that to me. And I didn't know how to communicate. Elena, I want you to love me. I see how you love all your other athletes. I see how you encourage them. I see how you do all these different things for them. But look how you're speaking to me. Look how you're screaming to me. Do you notice how you don't really stay in the gym and watch me and you stay in your office for the majority of the time, but then you just pop out to scream at me and cry and then come back in? It doesn't work with me, and it never did work with me, and it just made us, we were oil and water. We just didn't sit together. And 5 years of that was traumatic. It was so traumatic because I was never good enough for her. I was never good enough, no matter what. No matter how many international competitions I did, no matter how many medals I won being one of the top gymnasts in Canada, it never mattered because to me, I just wanted to be good enough for her, but I would never have been good enough for her because when someone doesn't like you, it doesn't matter how good you are. There's still something that they don't like about you. And that was a really hard lesson I had to learn when I was really young. It doesn't matter what you have to offer. It doesn't matter how good your heart is. When someone simply doesn't like you, that's the end. There's no in between. So as I'm really becoming this, one of Canada's top greats, I'm starting to get a little bit of fuel around me, meaning not within Gymnastics Canada, but like outside people are starting to notice, Brittany Habib in a sense, like my school, commercial work, stuff like this. And this, when a lot of people are like, why didn't you just quit? It was the behind the scenes stuff that was really helping me stay in gymnastics. That type of stuff I freaking loved. So then I was starting to get some of these gigs, some of these commercials, I was the spokesperson for HBC, the Hudson Bay Company. There was this huge HBC run for Canada, and I was the face of it, went to this whole big photo shoot. I was there doing autographs and, talking to people. And I love that kind of stuff. I love being able to inspire. I didn't know that it was inspiring back then, but that was just something that I really loved. So with that, CTV was like Brittany Habib, and this is rare because, CTV doesn't really put black people on the TV. But they did an interview on me and they're like, what? She's in Oshawa? So the whole crew came out to Oshawa. We asked the gym, if they were okay, if they came in. They wanted to do a little story on me and who I am. There's black gymnasts that came out of nowhere, except they didn't say black. And so they're like, Brittany Habib have this really cool CTV news clip and they want to interview my coach. And this is an exciting time. Like, this is awesome. So I'm in the gym in my brand new, nice, sparkly Leo and just, trying to look nice and stuff like this. And it was time for the interview with my coach. And they're like, what do you love about your athlete? Whoopsies. How do you guys work so well together? Whoopsies. We don't work well together. And another question was like, where do you see her going? Is she this aspire for the Olympics coming up in the next couple years? Watch my coach. Well, this is national television. Brittany. I don't know. She worked very slow. She worked very slow. She take long time to do things. We work hard together. And then the TV crew people's like, okay, yeah, but what do you like about her? And like, this interview is like so awful. And I'm like, I wasn't there standing beside her, but like, I'm watching her and I'm seeing what she's saying about me on national TV. And there was nothing encouraging. There was nothing that she was like, there was nothing about pride. There was no pride as a coach in this interview. And it was just like all the negative things about me. And I'm like, wow. So that's what's going to be filmed about me. Luckily, they edited some of those parts out and just put in some of the honesty, and probably more put it into a joke, like how Britney moves slow. It was more done like in that type of a way. But I'll never forget what she said in that interview, and the way that she just couldn't say anything beautiful about me, like even lie, fake it till we make it together. But there wasn't even that wasn't even a possibility, and that stuck with me. Some of her beauties have quit gymnastics, just like the last gym. All those girls that were supposed to be national, they've all quit. They've all been injured and quit. And that's another big thing. Like, yeah, it's amazing to be a national level athlete in the novice position, the junior position, but those who can make it to the senior position, that's a whole story within itself. I think it's phenomenal for young girls who are able to do this phenomenal things, with their body and all these different things. But talk to me when you have breasts. Talk to me when you've gotten your period. Talk to me when you've grown 2 inches, because there's a big difference when you got all these amazing skills at this young age and then you grow just this much. The timing is off. Everything changes. The tap going into that release skill has to be a little bit different. The way that you get into that Yurchenko has to be a little bit different. All these skills all have to be adjusted when you grow this much. And when you do gymnastics and you're young and you're tiny and you're little with no breasts, it's much easier because you can carry yourself a little bit differently. When you're 17 and you have breasts and you've grown 6 inches now and you're able to maneuver those skills, and all of those dreams and up and comings that all these other coaches had put ahead of me have all quit because it gets hard. They don't want to stick through it. They want to have boyfriends. They want to go to school. Like, there's all these different factors that comes into just not wanting to train 30 hours a week. But yet everyone still overlooked me and was hopeful for all of these other young girls who've all now quit. And I'm still standing here trying to push myself through. So there's a pre-national novice left and a junior left. And they're obviously, with training with Elena at Gemini, all these gymnasts are like phenomenal and great, amazing, up and coming athletes. So I remember being at one competition, and at this specific competition, the juniors were competing alongside the seniors. So we were all in the same venue, which meant one of my teammates from Gemini was competing as well with me. And, it's kind of cool because I'm always the only one competing by myself. So I enjoyed this, but we were on separate events. And I'll never forget this. And this is something else for me to admit. My mind was always in the wrong place. My mind was so concerned about Elena liking me and giving me the attention that I know I deserved, that it messed with my mental side of gymnastics. I was thinking about the wrong things every single time, and there was no way I could ever be my best because I was never doing it for me. I was only doing it so that she could like me. I was trying to, get all these good placements so that she could like me, but it wasn't doing anything. Traveling internationally and medaling and coming top and, making event finals. I was getting these big scores, but like in the gym, she still wasn't liking me the way that I'd like her to like me. And it really affected me. So I'm at this competition, and I remember I was about to get up on beam, Brittany. Actually, it was nothing like that. I wasn't smiling, but Brittany Habib. So I get up and I start my beam routine, and then I hear the announcements. This is how crazy I am. I hear the announcements, and it says Kelsey Hope, and I'm like, oh, she's about to do vault, and like I want her to do well too, because I'm cheering for her in my beam routine as I'm doing my beam routine. And Elena starts with looking at me like I'm doing my routine and I'm seeing all of this. And she looks at me, do a few poses. And as soon as I said Kelsey Hope, she turned her back to me. She's not even watching me. She's not even watching me. And I am watching Yelena watch Kelsey while I'm competing on the beam. And I want to see how long she's going to watch her before she turns around and watches my routine. I know this sounds crazy, but this is the truth. And I'm like, wow, she's not turning around yet. And they get to do 2 vaults. So I'm like, maybe after 1 vault, she's going to turn back around and watch me. She's still not turning around. So then now I'm actually getting ready to do a big skill. I'm about to do back handspring, back layout on the beam. And she's still not watching me. So I'm like, what's going on here? She's not going to watch any of my routine. And so then I'm watching her and Kelsey at the same time. I'm about to go into my back handspring, back layout. My arms are up. I'm about to go into back handspring, back layout, but I'm watching her go down the vault at the same time. Watching her. Back handspring, watching her. Elena's still watching her. Back layout, miss my foot, fall off of the beam, almost kill myself. And you don't know gymnastics, it would look terrifying because I slipped, my foot missed the beam, and I fell down. It's a fig level beam. Yeah, it was a scary fall. But the fact of the matter was, how am I supposed to do a skill with no hands on the beam when I'm watching the vault and mad that my coach is watching the vaults instead of watching me? And I come off the beam, and the first thing I do, as soon as when I'm on the floor, I get up. The first thing I do is I'm staring at Elena to see if she at least saw me fall. To see if she at least saw me fall. She sees me, she turns around and she looks confused. So then, I get back up. I complete the routine because maybe now there's a little bit of attention on me because she's watching. As soon as I come off the beam, Brittany, what was that? What are you doing? And what am I supposed to? I don't know. I just missed my spot. Reality, I was watching you watch Kelsey, not watch me, not turn back around to watch me compete. And it really messed with me. So the importance of treating each athlete equally. We see everything. I know coaches and parents and everyone thinks that kids don't see things, but we see everything and we feel everything. And it bothered me a lot that she didn't even care to watch my beam routine. And even in between, because there's 2 vaults, it wasn't like she watched the vault and turned back around to me. She kept her back towards me. And I saw that and I noticed that. And I have to thank God, Orishas and the Allahs, that I didn't get injured even more during that very difficult and tricky skill, because that was very dangerous and it was very wrong of me to not look. Like when you're doing a back handspring, back layout, you have to look at your hands on the beam, you have to look for your foot, and you have to look at where you're going backwards so you can catch the beam and land it. My eyes were not looking along that 4-inch beam. My eyes were looking like this, trying to do a skill and looking like this. That's called death. I don't even know, like thinking back on that, that's like one of the dumbest things I probably could have done. But I also didn't know how to express my words. And it was just very, very, very hard for me. So the relationship was getting worse. Somehow my gymnastics was still improving. Like going into 2006, I was learning more and more and more skill. And, every day at practice, I had to gear myself and get ready for it. I remember not trying to get myself sick towards cancer, because that was terrifying. I never want to get there again. But I do remember, not wanting to go to practice and giving myself headaches and one time I'm terrified of vomit. But one time even getting so sick to the point of actually vomiting. And when I'm with my mom, obviously, go in there and maybe just take it lightly. But when I was with my dad, because my dad started driving me more often, sometimes my dad would drive an entire hour to Oshawa with me in the car, and he will see and feel my energy. And as soon as we get there, he would pass the door, drive past, and drive right back home and say, "You're not going to practice today." Why? Elena's gonna be mad. And me crying in the car. He's like, "I don't care. You're not feeling well. I can see it. I can feel it. You're not going today. You call her and you let her know, I'm scared to call her." Crying, And he's like, "Pick up the phone and call her." This is one of those tough loves that I'll appreciate now. Just learning how to own up to things that I'm terrified of, because I was terrified of Elena. I was terrified of her in every single way. I was so terrified of her because I knew how much she hated me, and I didn't know how to break that barrier, and it was just a very, 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 very challenging journey. I'm gonna stop it there. We are now heading into the 2006 season, so this is gonna be a different story within itself. Once again, I am now top 6 in the country. I'm getting all these gigs, commercial work, and photo shoots and stuff like this. And this was something that really helped boost me. And also with my international numbers really getting up high, the point system, with my point system getting up so high now, there is something called being a carded athlete, and only few athletes within all of Canada get to become a carded athlete if you really are one of the top and you're posting all these points and all these different things. With my outstanding points, I ended up becoming a carded athlete. So my new title was National Senior High Performance Carded Athlete. That's freaking phenomenal. And this is just within a year's time, because again, when I'm junior, you cannot be a carded athlete. Once you become senior, that first year was my first year ever. I came top 10. I'm still a nobody to everybody. That next year, when I started traveling internationally and doing really well, Canada, it was like, wow, So then I ended up becoming a carded athlete, and this was like so awesome. This means that you get some money to do gymnastics. It's not a lot of money because gymnastics is extremely expensive. It's not like it covered much of anything. But the fact was, my parents were kind enough to allow me to keep that money. So that was another incentive, because I love money. So I would train, and what comes with that is, like, once you're a national team member, it also means that you have to now start getting P tests. And that was terrifying, because they would show up anytime, any place, without us knowing. And that was a scary thing, like just showing up at my house, knock, 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 we're here for your P test. And they come in with the bucket and their whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so scared. At the gym, we're looking for Brittany Habib. She needs to do P test. And, and then they come into the bathroom and they're watching you pee. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never done something like this in my life before. So yeah, it came with that side of things, but it was also so exciting to, go home, and then every once in a while there's this Brittany Habib, and I open the envelope and it's a check and I get to keep it. And my parents allowed me to, like, if I wanted to shop or if I wanted to save it, it was my money. And that was something that really helped me keep going. Until next time.